guys, it's Lilly May coming to you live from Las Vegas.
And it's LindaRose coming to you live from Maine.
I am so excited for today's episode. We have a lot of really fun themes to share with you guys, and this is also our last interview for this season 2 of Orchid Times.
Oh, I'm so sad. This season has been truly amazing, and we are ending it off on one of the most inspirational and best interviews we've had yet on the show. This interview was it was this girl that Lily's gonna introduce is 11 years old and has already accomplished so many things, like winning huge awards, being on the Steve Harvey show, which she talks about. She is an insane interview.
Absolutely. She was so awesome to get to interview. We're going to be in an interview we did with Peyton. A lot of you guys might know her from her viral video she had when she was 3 years old, performing the poem Hey Black Child live on a major news network. And also, like Linda said, she was on Little Big Shots, Steve Harvey show. She just had such amazing responses, and we were so honored to be able to talk with her and get to interview her for Orchid Times. Before we air her interview, we're going to go ahead and share one. We're going to go ahead and share her viral video beforehand.
Hey, Black Child by County Color. Hey, Black Child, do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, Black Child. Do you know where you're going? Where you're really going? Do you know you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn what you can learn? Hey, Black Child, do you know you are strong? I mean really strong? Do you know you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, Black Child, be what you can be, learn what you must learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow your nation will be what you want it to be.
Jackson. I'm 11 years old in sixth grade, and my journey started when I was around 3 years old because my parents posted a video of me doing, I believe it was like flashcards or like learning, and then it caught the attention of people, and that's when I got Little Big Shots. And that wasn't my first time performing because I did my poem on stage before, and that's when I got on TV for the first time.
That is so cool. I know I saw your performance, and you are so incredible. And it was such an amazing performance. And a lot of people watching may know you from that performance, but you have so many other projects as well that you're doing currently. Can you talk to us some about the work you've done since then?
Since then, I've been on Little Big Shots, Windy City Live, the Steve Harvey Show. I've been on The Shy, and I think a few other things. But I wrote books too. Like in my personal life, I wrote books, and I've made poems on my own and stuff like that.
Wow, that's so awesome. And you are so talented and accomplished.
Thank you.
I was so excited to have you on today because I write poetry and I performed like the first time I ever performed a piece I did in Atlanta over the summer at a little tiny coffee shop, which was the most nerve-wracking thing I've done in so long because it's my poetry is like a reflection of like my mental health and kind of how I struggle with it and how I've overcome it. So performing it was really nerve-wracking because that's like an inside look on my life, and but the public speaking has helped me so much in other aspects of my life. I want to know if performing your poetry and public speaking has helped you in any other aspects of your life.
Well, my poetry that I made is about my personal life too, because Hey Black Child and my other poem that I say affirmations, that I didn't make those. But my poetry that I make personally is about my life too. So, and then doing poetry on stage when I was younger has helped my current life. Like I've been on more plays and at school, and I do public speaking at school too. So it's helped me get more confident on stage at school.
That's amazing. Public speaking is such a great skill to have, and you're amazing at it. And writing poetry sounds so fun. I know I'm a musician. I write lots of songs, and it's a really inspiring and freeing process. So, yeah, it's so cool to hear about how you write your own poems and stuff. And the poems you've presented when you were younger had such powerful messages. I was wondering if you could pick any topic to advocate for today through poetry, what would it be?
If I could advocate topics through poetry, it'd probably be racism because it's been happening for so long, and I think it's a very deep topic to advocate through, and I think if I was to make poetry through it, and it was to get recognized, and maybe it could like prevent it from happening.
Absolutely. That's a super beautiful response.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that racism is something that is seen every day and is a huge, huge problem. And having people get their voice out there, and unfortunately, a lot of people's voices are silenced, and getting that poetry because it's such a powerful way of performing. And I love your response on that. And with doing poetry and public speaking, I want to know if that's helped you with any voiceover work you've done.
Well, I have done an audiobook for this book called Stamped, and like I said before, with public speaking, it's made me become more confident, and I've adapted to talking in front of large crowds. So with my audiobooks, I'm really fluent when I'm reading them, and it's helped me adjust to that easier.
Oh, super interesting to hear some about your process. And I know earlier today you were talking some about how you're a young author too, and you have so many really creative books, and you have your own book series too. I was wondering, how do you draw ideas for your books? Does it come from your personal life or from your imagination?
My books that I used to write came from my imagination, but my more current books that I've been working on lately comes from my personal life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know that I was talking when I heard you were coming on. I was very, very excited. And I was talking, and you won an award called the Global Prodigy. And I want to could you just explain what that award is?
So the Global Prodigy Award is the top 100 best child poets in yeah, and actresses, entertainers in the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so cool, and I'm so glad that you won that. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and especially since you won it at such a young age is really, really cool and can give a lot of younger girls and younger boys or any people that just kind of watch you that are younger that feel like they can't do something because they don't believe in themselves, could just give them that confidence because you won it while you were so young. And I want to know if winning that has brought you any new opportunities or has made yourself think of any new goals that you want to reach.
Well, after I won the Child Prodigy Award, that's when I got on the Shy in season 2. So I think the Child Prodigy Award helped me get to that.
Wow, it's amazing to hear how both of those have helped you in your career as a young poet and author. Talking some more about your experiences with writing, I was wondering, how do you feel both as a young author and a student about the current book bans?
Well, I think that's unfair because they're trying to take out books out of schools that kind of hide the truth about history, and I think that's unfair how they're trying to hide that.
Yeah, I know. I've been seeing the news and stuff, and it's a super disappointing thing that's going around. And I definitely think it's something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have, like, if you're listening to the news, like you mentioned, books that actually explain like real history have been taken out of schooling, which is really disappointing because it's not something that should be hidden. And if you look at some of the history that has happened, a lot of stuff has changed, but there's also a lot that hasn't changed and has only gotten a little bit better, which is really disappointing, and kind of hiding that knowledge from people and from kids is really disappointing that they're doing that. So I completely agree with what you said. And for our next question, we want to know if you have any future visions for yourself and your journey.
Well, my parents have a family business called Good to Go Veggie, and I want to continue that when I get older.
Oh, that is so cool. And switching gears some for the interview, balance is something that is so important. I know I've had some experience with it with doing high school, running the talk show, and with my music career. And I was wondering, how do you balance all of your interests with still being in school?
Well, I put some time aside for myself and some time aside for school and my poetry, my books. I just set time aside for certain things.
Absolutely. Prioritizing your time is something that's super important. And it's so amazing that you're already learning how to do that at such a young age.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that time management is something I really, really struggle with because I do so much out of school. I'm in a lot of clubs and a lot of sports. I just got out of a softball game, which is why I'm not out of my uniform at the moment. And I do schooling and everything. So high school is also very, very tough because of the finals coming up. So time management is something I'm really working on that I struggle with a little bit. So I love your answer on that. Setting time so that you can do everything you want to do, is really important and something that I'm gonna have to try so that I'm not overwhelming myself. And for our next question, we want to know if you had like any favorite accomplishments or anything that you're most proud of that you've accomplished so far.
Well, I was proud of myself for doing what I did at such a young age because now that I've got older and really realized what I've done and how I've been on TV at like 3 years old, that's a huge accomplishment.
Absolutely. That was so inspiring to see how you were able to get on there at 3 years old. I was wondering, how do you think that being able to go on and perform at 3 years old, how has it helped you in your career right now?
Well, going at such a young age, I think that really started me off, and it's kind of good that I started off young, so that as I get older, I can get more uh acknowledgments, and it can help me reach more goals.
I love that response. And as a little bit of an add-on question, I was wondering, what have your experiences been with now that you're older, having a platform that was established when you were younger?
It's easier to get recognized. Like for example, the shy. If I haven't like done what I did when I was younger, then the shy probably wouldn't have been a thing. Well, I probably not wouldn't have not got that role because I wouldn't have got acknowledged for what I did when I was younger.
Wow, it's been so interesting to get to talk to you some and hear some about your experiences. And I was so honored to have you on the show today.
Thank
For
you.
our last question tonight, I was wondering, how can people follow and support your journey?
I have an account on Instagram. It's princess_Payton, and I have information about me on there on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Peyton, for coming on today. I was so honored to have you on and get to learn some more about you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.
Every morning up early and bright, I look in the mirror and I recite affirmations by mom and dad. I am beauty, I am brains, I am intelligent, I am smart, I am health, I am wealth, I am treasure, I am heart, I am talent, I'm ambition, I'm success, I am daring, I am capable, I am helping, I am sharing, I am caring, I am water, I am earth, I am air, I am light, I am peace, I am love, I am future, I am bright. I am girl, I am princess, I am woman, I am queen. I am strong, I am divine, I express God, I am me.
That interview was so awesome to get to air, and I loved how we talked with her.
Yeah, I did as well. Obviously, if you guys watched the beginning of the episode, I was very, very excited about airing this interview. She is such. I think that like a big thing that a lot of people don't understand is that like people younger than you can inspire you, and it's something that we talk about so much. And she's one of those people that is 4 years younger than me, and that inspires me so much. Renee mentions in the comments that she's an inspiration to her as well. So. She's just inspiration to everybody of all ages, and she was an amazing interview. I was really happy to air that today.
Absolutely. And Linda, your camera is actually black right now.
I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I love getting to air Peyton's interview. She was so awesome to get to talk to. She had so much amazing advice in there, especially with talking about her experiences with being on stage at just 3 years old. And her performances were so awesome. And I just was so honored to get to talk with her for a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and start transitioning into the news segment. And today we are going to have Renee on to do the news segment with us.
Hey.
Am I good now? Can you see me?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. We're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Renee, for coming on and doing this with us today.
Thank you for allowing me. I'm excited.
I am too. So for our first topic tonight, we wanted to talk some about the recent attacks that are being made on no-fault divorce. Over the past 3 weeks, 5 states have introduced laws that would outlaw no-fault divorce. And before the 70s, the only way for a woman to divorce from her husband was if the man was in fault in some way, and the woman would have to prove in court that he cheated on her, had an affair, or was physically abusive in order to get a divorce. And men have always been able to have no-fault divorces. And recently, Republicans like Clarence Thomas, Stephen Crowder, and many more are saying that the only reason a woman should be allowed to leave their husband is by proving that they were in fault at some way in court. And these laws are so violating, and they really would have such terrible effects on women's rights. And if these laws get passed, we really will be making so many steps backwards, and marriage law could begin to resemble what it looked like in the 60s when women were forced to remain in marriages. And not to mention that since no-fault divorce was made legal, there was a 16 to 18% decrease in wife suicide and a 30% decrease in domestic violence cases.
Yeah, and can I just say that when Lilly, because Lilly is our amazing researcher that comes up with all these topics, when she comes up with these topics, half the things that we talk about, I have not heard about at all. They have not been on the news. They have and if they have been on the news, they've been on all hidden, and you have to really dig for them to find them. And things like this should not be so low. And it's disappointing that we run the show and Lilly finding these things and me the first time hearing about them is in our Orchid Times group chat and not on the news. And like Lilly said with this topic, it's so violating because a woman or a male has their own reasons for divorce, and a woman should not have to explain or have to prove as to why she wants a divorce. She has her reasons, and maybe giving a brief explanation is reasonable, but having to fully go in depth and having to show proof is super, super violating, especially if things like sexual harassment have been involved. It's so violating for women, and also really, really scary for them to go through that. So hopefully these laws are something that can not get passed.
Yeah, exactly. And violating is absolutely the word. And these things are very intimate decisions. A woman needs to be able to be trusted with her own decisions for her own life. She is a free agent. She is autonomous. She is a human being who is an individual. And like Lee was talking about, there's a double standard here about men having access to this right or women, because women are still seen as property of the male. And again, with those figures about mental health and everything, a woman being forced to stay in a marriage that she, for whatever reason, determines is not the best option for her, will erode her mental health. It will make her more depressed. It can make her more anxious. It can have medical implications, all of that stress on her. And then also forcing her to have to explain and detail all of the reasons why she wants to extricate for herself from that. It causes more stress on the individual. We need to just start trusting women to make the decisions that they want to make for their lives and their bodies instead of trying to superimpose male opinions on them. Almost as if women are not trusted to be mature or adult enough to know what's best for them. And that is really a tragedy. And sometimes we have to look at the calendar and say, what year is it? Why are we still going through this? Why are women still not a full human being in the eyes of the law?
Yeah, it was so disappointing to read up on this law, not to mention too that it can be really hard to prove in court, like physical abuse or
Yeah.
sexual assault and stuff, and it's really hard on the women too to have to go through that. And with what LindaRose was saying, these topics are not being talked nearly enough. It should be on the front page of the news because this is something that everybody needs to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where the headline doesn't seem to capture people's eyes or people just scroll past it. But when you dig deeper into all of the implications, you're really talking about personal freedom. And it's one of the more important things. I mean, what's more important than having the freedom to live your life the way that you want to live it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And some things I feel like the reason it's not on the front page is because people are afraid to go against what the government thinks or go against what laws they want to pass. And one of the reasons I am so proud of what Orchid Times has become is that we are always like when like with just things like this with like invading girls' privacy with Roe v. Wade and everything, Orchid Times is always going against that, and it's something that needs to happen more because as much as the government does have so much control, the people that my dad always says something and it's like that the president has a boss too, and his boss is the people in some ways. And a big thing for me is that if we use our voices enough and we really show how we're feeling, that someday something's gonna happen, and and women all around are suddenly gonna have a voice. And I hope we get to that point at some time in the future.
Absolutely.
That's right. Our second news story is sort of based on that, no one being above the law. A New York jury recently found Donald Trump liable to the tune of $5 million of sexually abusing advice columnist E. Jean Carroll. And this is really important. They did not find him liable for for the biggest charge, which was rape. They found him guilty of a lesser or liable for a lesser charge, which is just sexual abuse. However, it was a big win for women everywhere. And E. Jean Carroll said that after the trial, she said, "This is to vindicate myself and every woman out there who has not been believed." One of the things that all of us have probably been subjected to in the media is, of course, Trump going off about how she was lying, how she was mistaken, and mocking her publicly. Because she also won a defamation case against him for all of that, calling her a liar and making fun of her and saying she's not my type and really body shaming her. And these were things that were integral to the trial itself. But like she said, it's not about the $5 million. It's not about holding him liable just for her. It is a win for women everywhere. Whenever a woman comes out and takes a stand for her truth and says, I have been victimized, not only the person she's accusing, but the culture just jumps on her. It is not an easy decision. Most women live in the shadows because they are terrified to go through the doxing, the death threats, the mocking. People pull apart their physical appearance, call them ugly, undesirable. The second that you come out and you try to stand up for yourself as a woman, you are assured that people will come down very hard on you. So she was very brave to come forward and to do this many years later. And it is, like she said, a small win for women everywhere. So we can be emboldened to speak our truth and to make sure we are always standing up for our safety and for other women as well.
Absolutely, it really was a small win for women, and E. Jean Carroll really is so brave. I read through a lot of what happened in that court case, and a lot of the arguments that Trump and his lawyer made were so concerning, and it was just it was really interesting to read all about it. It was a really terrible what was going on there.
Yeah, like Renee was saying with her being with E. Jean Carroll being scared for coming out and a lot of women being scared to come out with it. The reason why women are so scared is because men are so people like court will say like believe the victim and everything, but if it comes to a woman and a man and the woman is the victim, usually the man is the one who's believed. So when the court, when the government says they always believe the victim, it's not true. Believing the victim is something that if it's a man against a woman, then the man's always they always believe the man if the man's essentially the victim. But if it's a woman against a man and the woman's allegedly the victim, they never ever go for towards the women first. And especially if it's a male judge, it's always pointed towards the male when it comes to sexual assault cases if the woman is the essential victim. And that's something that happens so often, which is why women don't come out, because in our minds there is no point, because it's gonna all because most of the time it goes in the male's favor, not the women's, and that's why women are so scared to come out. So this was a really, as much of it was a tiny one, it was also a big one too.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And just one last word about that to jump off of that is that also it's so awful to see these myths about they'll when a woman confronts her attacker, a sexual attacker, the first thing people will say is, "Oh, she's not even good looking enough to get raped." Like as if that's something that has anything to do with sexual assault. Sexual assault is not about that. It is about power and violence and control. It is it is a horrible, horrible crime. And it's so sick to see the way that people immediately jump on the victim and start blaming the victim for everything based on her past life, what she's wearing, what she wasn't wearing, what her physical appearance was. And it's just so disgusting because nobody does that to the men. Again, it's another double standard and shows how much, how much work we have to do to really get to equal.
Yeah, once we move on to our last and final topic, I do just want to say that Trump did come out and say that the E. Jean Carroll was not his type.
Yeah.
Which was one of his arguments. Mm-hmm. And like Renee said, you don't have to be someone's type to get raped or to get sexually assaulted. If a guy wants to do that, he's gonna do it. And it doesn't matter what you look like or if you're his type or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. And for a lot of guys saying that if you're wearing tiny clothing or like a lot of people say if you're wearing I've heard guys say if you're wearing a bikini, you're practically asking for it. If a girl feels comfortable wearing a bikini, which I wear bikinis all the time in the summer when I go to the beach because it's a bathing suit. If I feel comfortable in that, there's no way in H double hockey stick am I asking to be sexually assaulted or raped. I feel comfortable. Absolutely. I feel pretty. I'm gonna wear what I want, and that gives no man any right to come over and say that I'm asking for it. Because if I feel comfortable in it, I'm wearing it, and if they think I'm asking for it, that's something that they need to learn is not true, and something that they need to educate themselves on.
Yeah, stuff like this is just another way to keep women down and stuff. And it's a lot of stuff that was said in the case is really concerning. Let's just hope that more women start getting acknowledgement for what they've been through and justice for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Well said.
For our last topic, there was a transgender lawmaker, Zoe, I apologize if I say this wrong, Zephyr, I think, maybe. I'm not 100% sure how to say it, was silenced by the House, and I took a piece of an article by AP News that I'm just going to read off, just because they worded it much better than I ever will be able to. First-term Democratic Republican Zoe Zephyr had been prevented from speaking on the chamber floor by House Speaker since April 20th, when she refused to apologize for telling colleagues who supported the ban on gender-affirming care for youths that they would have blood on their hands. That's from AP News, if you want to know. And what makes me mad about this is that if anybody that works for the government that goes against what the people of main power, like the president and like that whole like government like section, if anybody else that works for the government really has a different opinion, they immediately get silenced. We see it all the time. And especially if you are a girl or a person part of the LGBTQ community, they don't even think twice about silencing you. They don't even think twice about your opinion. If you do not agree, you are immediately going to be silenced. And for some reason in their minds, their opinion on it is not even an opinion. It's a fact. It's what everybody should think, which is so wrong.
It's what everybody should think, and if you do not think the same as them, you're getting silenced, and that's just how it is. And people can agree, people can disagree or agree with me, whatever, but that's just how it is. And at some point, we just have to face that fact.
Yeah, I was reading the article on this, and it was so discouraging to read about because something similar has been happening in a lot of different states too. Like I know a similar situation played out in Tennessee, and what's basically happening is that they silenced 11,000 of Zoe Zephyr's constituents, and that's just really, it's really it's undemocratic.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't really say it any better than that. And it just comes down to respect and who we think of as being human beings. And we are just so far away from equality for all these different groups. And also, the other thing that you two have mentioned a lot on Orchid Times is even if you don't agree with somebody, you should at least allow them to be free. And you should be cordial and you should be respectful of a person's choices. And what we're seeing right now in the culture and in politics is we're seeing a lot of dog eat dog. We're seeing a lot of anger and vitriol and people trying to take away more and more rights for anything that they don't understand or they don't believe or what they don't choose to do in their own lives. But it's not about what you're doing in your own life. It's about allowing other people the freedom to make their own decisions. So that's kind of at the base of a lot of the things that we're talking about. And it's something that I'm hoping we're just going to keep using our platform to get these stories out there and to get these messages out there and hopefully inspire everybody to come on board and to just agree that people all deserve to have equal rights and freedom to do whatever they want to do. We do not believe in slavery. We want people to be independent beings to choose for themselves what is right for their lives.
Absolutely, and that was the perfect way to phrase it. And that's why it's so important that we speak up and talk about a lot of these issues because, like, I know when I was researching and trying to find news topics, I was super surprised to hear what was going on just because it's not talked about on a lot of your major news networks. And that's why it's so important that people inform each other and send any videos or anything you have to your friends and make sure to share it because that's the only way that these issues are going to get the representation and they're going to get talked about as much as they need to.
Yeah, and another thing, like I said, that whenever a person, especially if you're a woman or part of the LGBTQ community, and you work for the government, once you have a different opinion than what the higher authority has, they immediately get silenced. And something that makes no sense to me is that there's literally something called freedom of speech. Yeah, if you work for the government and you have a different opinion, suddenly that like right that you have isn't really a right anymore because you immediately get silenced.
Yeah.
So I don't want because the government stands by being like everybody has like their own sense of freedom and everybody has freedom, but once you think differently than them, you don't have freedom anymore. So really the government saying that, in my opinion, them saying that means absolutely nothing to me if they don't show it in the future. And so far it's gotten worse. They haven't shown it any more than they did back in the day. So it's it hasn't gone any better for me. So when they say that, it makes me a little angry because if you're going to say something, you follow up by doing what you're going to say you're going to do. And so far they just haven't done it yet. So
yeah, it's hypocritical.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that was such an important topic to bring up. Today was an amazing news segment. Thank you so much, Renee, for coming on and joining us. I love having you on these.
I love being here too. Thank you so much, and congratulations on an excellent second season. And here's to season 3.
Thank you. So next week, we are going to be airing our movie discussion on the amazing documentary, Miss Americana. It's on Netflix for anybody who wants to watch. We have the link linked below in the description. I'm going to be sharing a lot of clips about it on TikTok and everything over this week. So make sure you guys follow us on all of our platforms. We are on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of them. So make sure you guys go give us a follow.
Yeah, and our Facebook group is this summer. Me and Lilly are already making plans for the Facebook group. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that during our break. And yeah, we'll see you next week for a very, very fun talk about Miss Americana. I'm so excited to talk about it. I'll see you guys next week. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are.
And our season finale for season 2 is going to be airing on the 31st. It's actually going to be our 31st episode also airing on the 31st. So make sure you guys watch that. This has been an amazing season. And start sending in your questions and stuff because we're going to be doing a live Q&A segment. So yeah, thank you guys all so much. See you guys next week for the movie discussion. Hope you have a great rest of your day.